JBN, we keep you informed. Manchester police seeks identity of one of two men found dead. The Manchester police are still trying to identify one of two men found dead in the parish on Friday, July 6. Reports from the Jamaica Constabulary Forces Corporate Communication Unit, CCU, are that about 4 p.m., a passerby alerted the police to an area referred to as School Shade in Kendal, where a motor car seemed to have crashed and landed in nearby bushes. On their arrival, two men were reportedly seen in the vehicle with gunshot wounds. They were taken to the hospital where they were pronounced dead. One of the men is identified as 25-year-old Jermaine Francis, while the other is not yet identified. The police said they do not have an address for Francis. The Kendal police are investigating. Drowning suspected after unidentified body found in Kingston Harbour. Detectives assigned to the Kingston Central Police Division are probing the circumstances surrounding the death of an unidentified male whose body was found afloat in the Kingston Harbour Port Royal Street in the parish on Saturday. It is of dark complexion, slim built, about 167 centimeters or 5 feet 6 inches long, low-cut hair, and is believed to be in his early 40s. He was clad in a red t-shirt and multicolored underpants. Police reports are that about 2 p.m., a security personnel stumbled upon the body and alerted them. On arrival of the lawmen, the body was fished from the river and taken to the morgue for post-mortem. Meanwhile, investigators are asking persons with information who can assist them in this investigation to contact the Kingston Central CIB at 876-922-5076, Police 119 emergency number, or the nearest police station. Handcart man claims to have ignored cop who was breaking the law too. A handcart man whose cart ran over a cop's foot while the officer was attempting to correct him about a traffic law was fined a total of $15,000 when he appeared in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court on Friday. Tavoy McLean was ordered by Senior Parish Judge Von Smith to apologize to the policeman in court, and he graciously did, and the cop accepted the apology. But that did not prevent Judge Smith from imposing fines of $5,000 for common assault and $10,000 for assault occasioning bodily harm on McLean. The guilty man will spend 10 days in jail if he does not pay the fines. The court was told that McLean was pushing his handcart in the wrong direction on a one-way street in downtown Kingston when he was approached by the cop and informed of the traffic breach he was committing. But McLean apparently reacted insolently and he proceeded to push his cart along his merry way. In the process, one of the policeman's feet was run over by the cart. In pleading guilty, McLean told the court that he was in fact pushing the cart in the wrong direction on the roadway, but cited that his reaction to the cop was because the cop was also driving behind him in the same direction and only tried to stop him because the cart was obstructing the vehicle the cop was driving. McLean said he apologized to the policeman multiple times on the spot, but the cop still pressed charges against him. "I was transporting a customer to the taxi stand, Your Honor, and the man come and said me going the wrong way on a one-way street, but he was driving the same way too," argued McLean in court. U.S. citizen who overstayed time in Jamaica ordered deported. Omar Cogley was a minor when he was shipped to Jamaica by his parents. The United States-born Cogley is now 22 and was arrested by police for breaches of the Immigration Act. He overstayed his welcome after being given 6 months to stay in Jamaica. When he appeared before Senior Parish Judge Von Smith in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court on Friday, he explained that he was a victim of financial wrangling between his parents. "Yes, sir, I overstayed my time," the now Cogley told the judge. "Why?" the judge asked. "My mother wanted money from her father, so she took me when I was 16, he said. Then his mother was asked by Judge Smith to explain why Cogley had overstayed his time. "He didn't want to come to Jamaica, Your Honor, but the Children's Services in America wanted to put him in a foster home, and he was staying with his cousin, so I took him," the woman responded. "You want to stay here, sir?" the judge asked Cogley. "No, sir," he replied. "You want to go back to America?" Smith asked. "Yes, sir," Cogley replied. The judge then issued a removal order for Cogley and instructed his mother to quickly purchase a ticket so her son could leave the island as soon as possible, as he would be remanded in custody until travel arrangements were finalized. Cogley was admonished and discharged of the case against him. This means no criminal record will be held against his name. Cousins dead, 8 injured in separate St. James crashes. 2 cousins are now dead and 8 other persons seriously injured, following 2 separate motor vehicle accidents along the Rosehall and Lilliput Main Roads in St. James between Saturday night and Sunday morning. Those deceased have been identified as 17-year-old Spot Valley High School student Ronald Blake, otherwise called Bob or Prezi, and his older cousin, 24-year-old sound system selector Damian Buchanan, otherwise called Chacha. Both are of Bobman Hill addresses in Lilliput. Reports are that about 10:30 p.m. on Saturday, the cousins were traveling on a motorcycle from Bobman Hill towards the Lilliput Main Road. On entering the main roadway, they came into the path of an oncoming Toyota Hiace minibus traveling from Falmouth Trelawney heading towards Montego Bay. Both vehicles collided, resulting in the cousins being thrown from the motorcycle and the 37-year-old driver losing control of the minibus, which overturned. Buchanan and Blake, along with the driver of the minibus, were transported to the Falmouth Hospital, where the cousins were pronounced dead and the bus driver treated. Following the accident, dozens of community members gathered at the crash scene and at the home of the cousins, expressing shock at their tragic passing. Kimberly Buchanan, an aunt of the cousins, said that both victims were very popular within their community. "My nephews were very good boys and very popular in the community," she stated. "Damien is a popular selector, and we don't know how we're going to cope with him not being around. Him have a 1.5-year-old son who depend on him for support, and he's just like him in life just waste so. Ronaldo just doing C-sex subjects down a Spot Valley. We don't even get the result of the exams yet, and this can't happen. Him mother drop down when she hears her son dead. We have to give her medical attention right now." Counsel for the Rosehall Division, Anthony Murray, said that it was a most unfortunate situation for 2 young men to lose their lives in such a manner. "I am using the opportunity to call on the National Works Agency and the Minister of Transport to erect visible signs in the community," Murray said. "This is a built-up area, and over the past few weeks we have had over 6 persons perishing in separate road accidents along this corridor. Even this morning, 3 other vehicles crashed and several persons have been hospitalized, and we need signs so persons can know that they are approaching a built-up area to check their speed and proceed with caution." The second accident, which involves a minibus, a Toyota Wish motor car, and a Honda Stream motor car, occurred about 7 a.m. along the same stretch of roadway. 8 persons were seriously injured in that crash and were rushed to hospital. Since the start of the year, 22 persons have been killed in 20 fatal road accidents across the parish of St. James. Over the same period last year, 15 deaths were recorded in 13 fatal crashes in the parish. Holness walks out of meeting at CARICOM Summit. CARICOM sources say Prime Minister Andrew Holness stormed out of a meeting at the 40th Annual Heads of Government Summit in Castries, St. Lucia on Thursday. Mr. Holness apparently disagreed with his regional colleagues on the position adopted on the contribution to be made by the so-called developed countries of CARICOM. The Prime Minister supposedly indicated that Jamaica has financial issues to deal with and noted that a decision had been made some years ago that the country would not be part of the second tranche payment to the CARICOM Development Fund. The CDF is mandated to provide financial or technical assistance to disadvantaged countries and regions and sectors in CARICOM. Informed sources say Jamaica is questioning the accuracy of reports of previous meetings on the matter. Jamaica's position is reportedly to opt out of making a contribution to the CDF at this time. However, some Caribbean countries such as Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Antigua and Barbuda, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and St. Kitts Nevis contend that Jamaica cannot opt out and that it is an obligation of each member by way of treaty. Further, sources say that the other Caribbean countries argue that if Jamaica cannot pay at this time, they should acknowledge that they owe and make it a debt payable. Report missing persons immediately, urges JCF. The Jamaica Constabulary Force JCF is once again urging members of the public to report missing persons immediately, dismissing the claim that persons have to wait 24 hours before doing so. "We have repeatedly said this, and internally we have reminded our members. We have even gone further to activate a specific WhatsApp group for internal use, so that when a station gets a report, once they have connectivity, they can just WhatsApp us the information at CCU and we'll act on it," said Deputy Superintendent Delia Garrick, head of the Police Corporate Communications Unit CCU, on Thursday. When 8-year-old Shante Skiles went missing in April of this year, the security forces were accused of not acting fast enough to search for the child, who was found dead days later. Her murder is still unsolved. Our missing persons policy is that there is no timeline to wait to report someone missing. Once you are reasonably satisfied, it means that if someone used to come home at 3 and it's now 4, I'm calling your phone and I can't find you, you can report that person missing. Once we get that information, it's going to be acted upon immediately, said Garrick. On the issue of persons who returned home but were still listed as missing, she said at times that the communication with relatives or parents is where the breakdown usually happens. So you have a child who is reprimanded, and that child leaves home, and that child is reported missing. We have to take action once we get the report, so we're going to publish it immediately, she said. But in a few hours that child calms down and comes home. Sometimes the parents don't tell us immediately. So within 2 or 3 days, we're now checking in with the parent, and that's when we get the information. So we then pull the missing persons report. So you might see a figure representing, say, 1,500 for the year, but of that you will find maybe over 60% returned within a reasonable time. The Deputy Superintendent also thanked the media for the partnership during the month of May, where every day published reports of missing children were made with their photographs. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to like, subscribe, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.